So today we're going to talk in our Q&A, we're going to talk models. So the way that these work is I first go over a training topic and then open it up to questions at the end. And if there are any questions, we'll answer them. If they're not, then we'll go ahead and close everything out. So first off, let's just talk through models. How do they help you, and uh, where are they? How do they become useful? So you will see, and I've got a training one, and in your Knackly, you likely, let's just kind of go over this page here. You'll see a box. This means that it's basically a catalog model. So these correspond with what's up here. And then on down, you'll see agent is a model, collections a model, and then if we keep going down on the left-hand side, you'll see attorney, which is a table. And these tables can be used in different ways in your documents. Today, we're going to focus on models, though. Why did we develop them, and what's the purpose of them? If you kind of go back to the beginning with Knackly, we'd used other software for quite a long time, and in the other softwares that we've used, you had to do a lot of copying. So if I wanted to create, say, a client and spouse and children, I had to go through it. I would create the client, then I would copy all those variables over to the spouse, and again, copy all those variables over to the children. And you couldn't really reuse information. So when we started developing Knackly, we knew that we wanted you to be able to reuse that information in different ways. And with that, we came up with what we call a model. So an agent is a model, a party, most of you will become quite familiar with that. If I go to into a state plan, you'll see a client is a party, a spouse is a party, and children are party lists, and other parties are party lists. It just basically means if I go into party, I can make use of any of these variables that I have created. It also means I can reuse any templates that I've created. So if I have a block address, I can do a block address. I can do full name, address. I can reuse these in different ways. I can do age formulas. If they're a minor, I can say that they're minor. I can reuse things so that I don't have to recreate them all the time. So let's just talk through an example and create a new model. I've got a document, and I'll just go ahead. Let's pull up and log in. Let's in this case, we're in a estate plan. Let's create some asset information that we might want to reuse. So I'm just going to pull up Word here and log in. So I can now go through and log in. I'm going to go ahead and create a new template. I'm just going to call this asset list. And I'll do it as a new app under estate planning model. You will see that I can create this under different areas. More advanced features is you can actually like create it under party and reuse information that way if you wanted to. We'll get into that in future Q&As. Just going to use the original one. And let's just go ahead and build this out real quick. So insert, I'm just going to do a table. If you remember from last week's discussion, we want to do table properties, options. I don't want to resize it, and I'm going to I'm gonna copy it and paste it. So I can say description, value, date, purchased, and owner. So those are the four variables that I'm going to do. So, and I want to be able to use this for cars, for different options available. So I'm going to come here to my online designer and click add new element. I'm going to do it as a model and put asset. Okay. And as a naming convention, I always like to put these in lowercase unless they're a catalog model. Because we are case sensitive, there are times that you may want to be able to use asset as initial caps. So in here, I'm just going to go ahead and do a description. And coming back. Yeah. I'm going to do value as a number. Say date purchased. And I'm going to do a selection. So we'll owner. And owner, I'm going to do it as joint client spouse. And I'll go ahead and click. I'm going to save that. And now I've created this asset model. I can come back here into estate planning and click add new variable. And I'm going to do it a list. So I want to be able to have multiple of, and I'm going to do, let's just do cars in this case. So I want to do an object. I'm going to reference asset, and I'm just going to say cars. And I've created that. Now, the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to create an asset bank account. And the nice thing is if say you do have assets for bank accounts and there's some other questions you can ask, because of the way Knackly works, it's only going to ask you the things that you put in your documents. So you can add more to your list, but to keep things simple, I'll just go ahead and add these, and I'll ask one more object, and I'll do IRA just to. Okay, and I did not do that as a list, so I'm going to switch that to be a list. Now let's just go back to the document. So I'm able to reuse this asset list. You can see how simple that was. I can use it for cars, bank accounts, IRA. Now, if I come back to my Word, I could do, I'm just gonna make a quick copy here. I'm gonna reuse this 3 times. Actually, I'll show you a shortcut. I'm gonna do this slightly different. So asset description. So let's just get a return before it. I've refreshed, I'll refresh this again, and I see my asset list. So I've got cars. So I'm going to do my first, I want to do my cars. I'm going to do insert list without punctuation. And I actually put that in the wrong spot. So X there, I'm going to put it. And so I'm going to list all the cars. So I can then click on cars. This is one asset. I just need to put description up here. I could actually, I'll just drop that in there. It wants to see something in that. If I do a refresh. description, so I can just double click and put description, value, date purchased. I'll put the owner and owner, put the owner name. So now it's going to ask me about cars. So let's just save this and let's kind of look online and see what this looks like. If I go to estate planning, I'm just going to do a refresh here so I can see that I now have asset list. It's asking me some other information that's associated with it, but I can do a car, Toyota, say 25,000, date purchased, I can do 1998. This is an old car and it's owned jointly. I could then go through and add more to it, and I can go ahead and click complete. Get my asset list. And it says Toyota. If I added any other ones on here, it would just keep tacking them on as I go down. All right, so now let's go back to the document. And we're going to do the same thing, but now I want to do bank account. So if we look at it, we look at this, and everything's going to be about the same. So I'm just going to do. I'm going to say bank account cars, but instead of doing the list of cars, I'm just going to change it to bank account. Not sure if this makes sense to people, but basically I just renamed this so they didn't have to go through and recreate everything. So now I can go ahead and I can do IRA. Now, if you are going to go this route, you got to make sure you change your list, otherwise you'll get some. Now, click save. Let's see, I did my list of IRA wrong. Oh, LRA, that's a problem. I'm sure everyone watching this saw that, but me. Okay. I come back, view and update, and I can now see IRA, bank account, and cars. So I've got all the information in that I can now go in and do things different. Now, say I don't really want to do date purchased, but I do want to still do the owner and everything. So maybe I want to add another variable, and I can go to agent. I could do asset, instead of date purchased, I could do a date opened. I'll save it. Click refresh. And so in the bank account date, I could say date opened, and I could do date opened. Now what this will show you is that even if the data may be a lot the same, but there can be variations to it. So instead of doing date purchased, I'll just delete that. I'll go on down to I'm in the bank account, date opened, and then again, I can go into the IRA and do date opened. Oops. Didn't like that it was on the wholesale. Let's get rid of the wholesale. And I click save. And so now on the car, it will say date purchased. On the bank account, it will say date opened. So let's go back into my list, into the app, IRA. Now it says date opened, like it's supposed to. Bank account says date opened, and the car date purchased. So that this way you can reuse these lists, but you don't have to use everything in it. It's just if we have like information in it. this becomes helpful if we want to do some addition, makes it easier that way as well. Other things, nice thing with when you're reusing information, you'll see this quite often, is POA is a good example. So I have a client POA, a spouse POA. I'm just referencing the POA model. So I can say successor agents who they will be and initial agents who they'll be. So it makes it just so that you can reuse information in different ways. And that's kind of the overview of models. Now, I've loved doing this training with you. What we're going to do now is open it up to questions, if there are any. Otherwise, we will close it. But let's just see. In your list, you'll see a drop down that should say questions, where you can ask questions. Nice. Okay, it looks like there's no questions, so we'll go ahead and end.